well, the obelisks that are all over Egypt. There was one very famous one that's found in the quarry, and there's scoops. There's scoop marks in the hardest, some of the hardest rock ever.
Yes, I think that the unfinished obelisk. I think that's a red granite quarry,
which is like 8 or 9 on the hardness scale, like diamond's 10, something like that. So it's extremely hard, and there's scoop marks, like someone took an ice cream scoop and scooped in. So explanation for the scoop marks would be 1. 2, the drill marks, where they actually see drilled holes that are perfect, and you see. Engineers today look at it and they go, well, that's a drill hole. And like, how would you even comprehend doing something like this in the hardest rock of its time? That kind of thing. So those two technologies there is proof for. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what traditional archaeologists think, and then what your theories are.
Yeah. So the unfinished obelisk is this.
It's massive. How many?
Like dinosaur-sized.
It's like 120 tons or something like that.
1,200 tons.
1,200 tons.
Yeah.
Okay, it's massive.
1,200 tons, I believe. Absolutely gigantic.
It's like a T-Rex.
It's hard to imagine how big this thing is.
And it's still in the ground.
It's still in the ground. Yeah.
Think about, they were planning to lift this. And move it.
Yeah. And I think that they don't, because, or at least they think that they didn't, because the granite cracked or something like that, or it was just unfinished. But yeah, so it's so large that you jump down into this pit that is around it, and the pit is, you have the obelisk laying on its side, and basically you have this giant bedrock of Aswan granite, and you're just cutting out an obelisk inside of it to raise it up. And so you jump down into the pits that are along the sides of the obelisk, and the pits are like 7 feet tall. So, it's towering over you even when you're standing next to it while it's laying down. And then there are these scoop marks going underneath the obelisk.
Right.
And I think at one of the ends as well. And it literally looks like somebody's scooping into strawberry ice cream.
Right. Yeah, it's like an ice cream.
Like soft strawberry ice cream. That's exactly what it looks like. And so what they say, and you watch this documentary before you actually get to go view it, which is very strange, that to go view the unfinished obelisk, you're funneled into this room where they make you watch a documentary on how the obelisk was made before you can go look at it.
And it's their narrative.
Yeah.
And what's their narrative?
So they have these dolomite stones. These stones that are this big, and it's a very hard rock. And that they were to cut the obelisk out of the ground. They take the block and then they drop it on the granite. And they're just doing that over and 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 over again.
You mean like grinding corn into a paste?
Yeah. And they're just dropping a dolomite stone on granite.
Dropping.
Yeah, just boom.
And it's landing perfectly every time.
I guess so.
He's silenced, ladies and gentlemen.
And for anybody listening,
your face is just.
I don't know what to say.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. I mean,
why? But I don't understand what is the reason that they have to come up with an explanation like this, which logically doesn't make any sense. And we're now at a point where there's so much information out there. That played 50 years ago. That played 100 years ago. If you're going on a tour of the obelisk and they show you a documentary or they tell you what's going on, you'd go, oh, okay. But now there's so much information, the internet and everything's
and there's so many people who are experts in different areas that are maybe more educated on this specific thing.
Engineers.
That can come in and go, no. And they have a platform now to send out that knowledge to the world that can't be
this show.
Yeah, it can't be gate kept by anybody else
anymore.
Now here's another problem with these dolomite pounding stones. So let's say that you can somehow, we have to imagine somebody's mapped out, all right, this is going to be the obelisk, say they draw it in chalk along the ground, and it's just flat ground at some point, and we're going to somehow cut the world's biggest obelisk out of this bedrock. So then they go, here's your dolomite balls, start dropping them on the ground.
Yeah, from scratch.
Just from flat ground. boom, boom, boom.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Now, maybe if you're there for 1,000 years, you get down.
Yeah, like water
down
dripping, on a stone. Yeah,
and you get down to the bottom. But then you have to cut. I mean, think about this. You have to cut the ground away underneath the pyramid, underneath the obelisk, to raise it out. Right? You know, you've got to cut the bottom layer of it.
That's the thing. Yeah.
How are you going to drop this really heavy dolomite ball? How are you going to drop it into a wall that's in front of you and have it tunnel underneath? That doesn't make any sense. So that's where they're showing the scoop marks from. And they think the only other explanation they think is rather than dropping it, they're pounding it against the granite like this. And I guess they're just chipping away the granite into like little tiny specks of sand.
But those scoops don't look erratic.
No.
They look perfectly like a machine went in and scooped it out like an ice cream.
Yeah.
That technique, it would look horrendous. It would be like it'd look all over the place. It wouldn't be so uniform.
Yeah. Well, and it's so miraculous that I think I saw Ben Van Kerkwyk from Uncharted X. He's asked a question that's like, well, what could achieve this? I think this is when he's on Joe Rogan, and it's so miraculous that he's like, I can't think of anything other than something that could basically melt the stone down and soften it and scoop it away, like a molecular tool to be able to melt it. Like, it's so miraculous that the only explanation he could come up with was like maybe like a sci-fi something. That's how amazing it is. What actually did it? I have no idea.